Somewhere inside of us, there is a younger version of ourselves that is still waiting to be seen. That younger part of us is not asking to be fixed, judged, or pushed away again. It is only asking to finally be seen. And the painful question is this: how much longer are we going to keep hiding from the part of us that needs love the most? Because the version we show to the world is not always the part of us that is hurting underneath. The smile, the silence, coldness, and the confidence can become a way to hide what we do not feel safe enough to show. Most people think that wearing a mask means someone is being fake on purpose, and honestly, that makes sense. From the outside, it can look like a performance. It can look like someone is pretending to be stronger, happier, funnier, or more unbothered than they really are. But that is not their point. The point is that being real once felt unsafe. So we are going to talk about things that explain why people hide behind a version of themselves. And by the end of this video, the goal is not to hate the mask. The goal is to understand why it was built and what our inner child is still waiting for. And before we go deeper, this is the idea that changes everything. The inner child is not asking us to become perfect. That part of us is asking us to stop abandoning it. Because a lot of healing does not start with doing more. It starts with noticing the part of ourselves that we keep covering up. People wear a mask because being truly seen can feel risky. Being seen is not just about getting noticed or complimented for the image we show. It is about someone reaching the real part underneath. And when life has taught us that those parts are too much, we start hiding them before anyone else can reject them. It means someone can see the insecure part of us, the sadness and fear we try to hide, and the softer side that does not always have everything under control. So the mind creates a version that feels safer. Maybe it becomes the funny version, because if everyone is laughing, nobody's looking too deeply. Or maybe it becomes the cold version, because needing people feels dangerous. Or it can become the confident version, because admitting fear feels like giving people power over us. And after a while, the mask becomes so familiar that we do not even feel like we are wearing it anymore. But the painful part is that the fake version can get attention, while the real self still feels lonely. People can like the energy, respect the image, enjoy the character, and still never reach the real person underneath it. That is why attention does not always feel like real connection. It can fill the room and still leave something inside of us empty, because deep down, we know they are reacting to the version we perform, not the part of us that we are scared to reveal. That is also why silence can feel dangerous. When there is noise, we can hide inside of it. We can scroll, joke, talk, work, distract ourselves, and keep acting normal. But when everything gets quiet, there is nothing left to hide behind. No one to impress, no reaction to control, and no role to play. So the feelings we push down slowly start coming back to the surface. For someone who lives behind a mask, silence is not just silence. It can feel like being trapped alone with the truth. And behind that mask, there is often a quiet kind of sadness. It does not always look loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is an old pain that has been carried for so long, it starts to feel normal. It is a heaviness we do not even know how to explain anymore. It shows up as tired eyes, irritation, overthinking, numbness, or that strange feeling of being around people but still not fully being there. That younger part of us still remembers what it felt like to show pain and not feel safe, so we learn to hide it behind a version of ourselves that looks fine from the outside. Because that mask was learned. It did not appear from nowhere. A child does not naturally hide every feeling. A child naturally reaches for connection, cries when something hurts, and wants to feel understood. But when those emotions are ignored, laughed at, rejected, or punished, something inside that child begins to change. The child starts adapting by holding back their tears, needing less from people, and hiding the truth of what they really feel. Over time, they learn to act in the way that feels safest, even if it means moving further away from who they really are. Then years pass, and we start thinking we are just adults with certain habits, but some of those habits are still built around moments where we felt rejected, afraid, unseen, or left alone with something we did not know how to process. That is why trying harder does not always create the breakthrough. We can work harder, act better, become more disciplined, and still feel the same pain underneath it all. Because the real breakthrough is not about forcing the mask to disappear. It is about making the real self feel safe enough to come forward. That is why the inner child part matters so much. This is not about sounding soft, fake, or dramatic. It is about finally understanding the part of us that learned to hide. There is a younger version of us that is still waiting for the adult version of us to say, "I see what happened. I understand why you became this way, and we do not have to keep hiding forever." When that part feels seen, The war inside of us starts to calm down. We stop attacking the mask and begin to understand it. We stop judging the sadness and start listening to it. And instead of pushing that younger part away again, we finally stay with it. So the key takeaway here is that the mask was never created for no reason. A younger part of us built it because at that time, hiding felt safer than being fully seen. It may have helped us get attention, but it could never give us real connection. It may have protected us from rejection, but it also kept the deepest part of us unseen. And the real breakthrough does not come from pretending harder, performing better, or becoming colder. It starts when we stop running from the younger part of ourselves that is still waiting to be seen. Healing does not begin when the world finally understands us. It begins in the quiet moment where we stop pretending we are okay and finally admit that there is still a part of us that needed more than it received. And that cannot stay as just a thought. Starting today, we have to do something with it. Even if it is small, even if it feels uncomfortable, we have to stop leaving that part of ourselves unseen. So if this video brought something real to the surface, do not just scroll away from it. Write the thought you usually keep to yourself in the comments, even if it is only one sentence. Because the first step is not changing everything. The first step is finally being honest with ourselves.